Rich Dad, Poor Dad Book Summary. Lessons by Robert Kiyosaki. If you're only going to read one book this year, we'll recommend you to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. This is one of the best personal finance books that you'll ever read, with many key concepts explained on investing, budgeting, finance, and more. Today, we are going to look into the Rich Dad Poor Dad book summary and discuss a few of the best concepts covered in the book that will help you in your financial life. Keep watching. Rich Dad Poor Dad book summary. Rich Dad Poor Dad was originally written in 1997 by Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lechter. Ironically, the subheading of the book is what the rich teach their kids about money that the poor and middle class don't. In the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki describes personal finance by taking instances of learnings from his two fathers. Don't think much, he didn't exactly have two fathers. One was his real dad, on the other hand, the other was his friend's dad, who differs a lot in their ideologies. Here are some of the key characteristics of both his fathers. Poor Dad. He was a highly educated person with a PhD degree. The poor dad gained a good substantial salary from his job. He was financially ignorant and used to struggle financially. The poor dad was going to leave huge bills to be paid for his next generation. Rich Dad. Rich Dad never finished his 8th grade. The rich dad used to build and run businesses. He was going to become one of the richest men in Hawaii. The rich dad used to say, "How can I afford it?" The rich dad was going to leave a huge fortune for his next generation. At a very young age, Robert Kiyosaki decided to follow his rich dad instead of his highly educated poor dad. The book describes the lack of financial education given to the kids. The reason for the low financial literacy in the society is because it isn't taught in school. Hence, the families have the responsibility to teach it to their kids. However, the trouble is that unless your parents are in the top 1%, they are going to teach their kids how to be poor. This is not because the poor don't love their kids. It's because they don't even know themselves about true financial literacy. Anyways, through this video, let us learn from Robert Kiyosaki about financial knowledge that he learned from his rich dad. The rich dad taught Robert that first he needs to learn how to read financial statements. Here is how the rich dad taught Robert about the difference between an asset and a liability in simplest words. An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket. A liability is anything that takes money from your pocket. Easy, right? Now, the trouble is anything can be an asset or a liability depending on whether it is taking money inside or outside your pocket. In the book, Robert argues that your house is not always your asset. Let us understand what he means by this. If you own a luxury house and you pay heft expenses for running the house, then it is a liability. The house is taking money out of your pocket. However, if you own a house and it brings thousands of rupees a month by renting it, then it is an asset. The house is putting money in your pocket. The rich dad taught Robert Kiyosaki to always invest in assets. Assets can be a business, real estate, paper assets like stocks, bonds, etc. On the other hand, liabilities can be your expensive car, a big house bought on the mortgage, expensive watches, etc. 3 most important lessons from Rich Dad Poor Dad book. Lesson 1. What kind of education to get? Poor Dad. Poor Dad advised Robert to get a high education so that he can get a good paying job. Poor people believe in conventional education. Rich Dad. Rich Dad advised Robert to get a great education so that he can start his own business. Rich believe in financial education. Lesson 2. What kind of work should you do? Poor people. Poor work only for money. They believe in getting a job and work their entire life. They work for corporations, government, and banks. They are driven by fear and greed. Fear of losing the job and greed of their next paycheck. Rich people. Rich do not work only for money. They make money working for them. Rich owns business and leverages employees, government, and bank for their advantages. Rich are driven by themselves. Lesson 3. How to invest and spend your money. Poor people. The poor only have expenses. They can't pay themselves. Middle class. The middle class buy liabilities but think of them as assets. They pay themselves last. Rich people. The rich majorly only buys assets. They pay themselves first. Rich always pay themselves first. This is the key point that Rich Dad taught Robert. Further, he also added, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. Closing thoughts. In this video, we covered the Rich Dad Poor Dad book summary and looked into a few of the top learning from his book. Here is a quick recap of what we learned today. Financial education is just as equally important as professional education. Invest in assets, not liabilities. Do not work for money, make your money work for you. We hope this video on Rich Dad Poor Dad book summary was an interesting read for you. We'll definitely recommend you to read it. The book helps all those who do not have a rich dad but want to learn what the rich teach their kids about money that the poor and the middle class do not. Further, do comment below what's the best learning for you from this book. Have a great day and happy investing!